What if I told you that your life is about to change? Not because of luck, not because of chance, but because God Himself has already chosen a season of wealth and favor for you? And more than that, someone wealthy is going to come into your life and choose you. Yes, you. Stay with me, because what I'm about to reveal could turn your tomorrow into a breakthrough you have been praying for all your life. Beloved, we often pray for miracles, for doors to open, for blessings to rain upon us. But let me ask you, are you ready to receive what God has already prepared? There is a divine appointment waiting for you. A wealthy person, a person of influence, someone with resources that could change your life, has been positioned by God to cross paths with you. And here is the most important truth. You don't have to chase it. You only need to align yourself with God's timing and readiness. Today, I will show you how to position yourself spiritually, mentally, and practically so that when opportunity knocks, you are ready to move without hesitation. Before God can send someone wealthy to choose you, there is a process that begins in the unseen realms. Many people look at wealth, favor, and divine connections as if they are random, as if they fall from the sky like raindrops with no warning. But I tell you, beloved, nothing is random in the kingdom of God. Every blessing, every divine encounter, every door that opens is preceded by preparation. And the first preparation begins in your heart. God must see readiness, a heart that is free from greed, jealousy, and envy, a heart that can receive favor without corruption, without arrogance. He looks for a heart that is humble, a heart that is obedient, a heart that says, Lord, I am ready to be used. I am ready to receive. I am ready to honor you with everything you place in my hands. This preparation is not something that can be rushed. You cannot force it. You cannot summon a wealthy person, a person of influence, or a season of abundance with mere desire or human effort alone. It begins with discipline. It begins with faithfulness in the small things. God measures your faithfulness not by the size of your ambition, but by your willingness to be faithful with what you already have. Are you faithful with your time? Are you faithful with your gifts? Are you faithful with your resources, your talents, your relationships, and even your spiritual life? This is where divine preparation starts. It is in the everyday choices, the quiet obedience, the prayers that no one sees, the sacrifices made in secret, and the moments when your faith is tested and you choose to trust rather than complain. God also prepares your mind. He wants your thoughts to align with His promises. You see, the enemy wants you to believe that wealth, favor, and divine connections come by luck, by manipulation, or by self-effort. But the truth is that God is training your mind to recognize opportunity, to discern His timing, and to step into His purpose without fear. You must develop a mindset of expectancy. You must learn to see every delay, every rejection, every closed door as a sign that God is working behind the scenes, that He is positioning you, shaping you, and refining you. Your mind must be renewed, for the wealth that God is sending will not rest in a mind filled with doubt or negativity. He is seeking a vessel, a mind that is ready to steward, to multiply, and to use the blessings for His glory, not merely for personal gain. Preparation also involves refining your character. God cannot entrust favor to someone whose heart is divided, whose intentions are impure, or whose words are reckless. He is looking for integrity, for a life that is consistent in private and public, in hardship and in ease, in abundance and in scarcity. Integrity is not only about honesty, it is about aligning your actions with God's word, being reliable, and honoring the principles of righteousness. When someone wealthy is brought by God to choose you, they will not simply be looking at your skills, your resume, or your outward appearance. They will sense the spirit that is within you, the discipline that governs your life, the character that demonstrates you are worthy of trust. God's favor rests upon those who have been tried and found faithful. Generosity is another key part of preparation. God blesses those who are prepared to bless others. If your heart is closed, if your hands are clenched, if your spirit is self-centered, you cannot handle the wealth and influence God is sending. True preparation means cultivating a generous heart, a heart that rejoices in the success and well-being of others, a heart that serves even when there is nothing to gain. When a wealthy person comes into your life, they will not only be looking for someone to receive from them, but for someone whose heart matches the purpose God intends for the resources He is sending. Your preparation is about learning to give, to support, to uplift, and to honor God through your actions before He sends the person who will bless you. Excellence is also a part of divine preparation. God is not looking for someone mediocre to receive extraordinary favor. He is raising you up to meet the level of blessing that He intends for your life. Excellence is not perfection, but it is commitment to doing your best in every task, in every responsibility, in every interaction. It is about discipline, focus, and diligence. If you are not willing to grow, to learn, to step into your potential, then the wealth and opportunities that God is preparing cannot remain with you. You must cultivate a spirit of excellence in your work, your ministry, your relationships, and your personal development. When the wealthy person comes, they will recognize your readiness because they will see the evidence of preparation, the fruit of discipline, and the power of a life aligned with God's principles. Prayer is the cornerstone of preparation. Many desire blessings, but few are willing to prepare their hearts through persistent, fervent prayer. Prayer is the channel through which God shapes your readiness. It strengthens your faith, aligns your spirit with His will, and opens your eyes to opportunities that others cannot see. It is in prayer that God whispers strategies, encourages patience, and reveals the lessons necessary for your preparation. Do not underestimate the power of prayer to prepare you for encounters with divine favor. Those who pray are not passive. They are actively participating in God's orchestration of their future. Preparation is also about patience and trust. God's timing is perfect, and He will not bring the wealthy person too early or too late. If you try to rush the process, you may miss the blessing or fail to recognize it. But if you trust, if you remain faithful, if you continue to prepare your heart, your mind, and your spirit, you will be ready at the exact moment God has ordained. This requires letting go of fear, doubt, and comparison. Every delay is a divine rehearsal, every trial is a spiritual workout, and every season of waiting is God's way of refining your vessel so that when the blessing arrives, you are not overwhelmed, but ready to steward it wisely. God's preparation is holistic. It is not just spiritual, it is also practical. He wants you to develop skills, knowledge, and wisdom to handle the responsibilities that come with divine appointments. He wants you to learn how to manage resources, how to communicate effectively, how to navigate relationships with discernment, and how to maintain balance in your life. All of this is preparation. It is the silent work that occurs before the visible blessing manifests. When the time comes, you will realize that nothing about your encounter with favor is accidental. It is the product of divine preparation. The wealthy person, the opportunity, the favor, the breakthrough, all of it is the result of God's meticulous work in your life. You will see that every prayer, every act of obedience, every lesson learned, every moment of patience, and every ounce of faith has positioned you for the moment when you are chosen. And you will understand that preparation is not just about receiving, but about becoming the kind of person who can carry and multiply what God sends. God is always at work behind the scenes, orchestrating encounters that appear by chance, but are in reality divine appointments. Many of us go through life unaware that the very person who can change our trajectory has already been positioned by God to cross our path. We look at circumstances and see coincidence, but in the kingdom of God, nothing happens without purpose. Every meeting, every connection, every handshake can be the fulfillment of a prayer long forgotten. You see, the wealthy person who will choose you is not simply wandering into your life by accident. God has aligned every step, every movement, and every decision to ensure that the timing is perfect. But here is the truth. You must recognize the moment. You must have eyes to see and ears to hear what the Spirit is saying, because if you are not alert, you can miss the very thing God is sending to bless your life. Divine appointments require spiritual discernment. Not everything that comes into your life is from God, and not everyone who appears to be helpful is part of His plan. You must learn to discern between natural opportunities and supernatural ones. A divine appointment carries a sense of peace and purpose. When you encounter it, there is a quiet confirmation in your spirit that this meeting is more than coincidence. God gives subtle indicators, impressions, and confirmations to guide you toward the right person, at the right time, in the right place. Your role is to cultivate sensitivity to these promptings through prayer, meditation on His Word, and attentiveness to His voice. Many times, God sends wealthy individuals or people of influence as a test as well as a blessing. You may meet someone who has the resources to elevate you, but he is also observing your character, your integrity, and your faithfulness in the process. He is watching whether you respond with humility or pride, whether you receive with gratitude or entitlement. Recognizing the appointment means understanding that it is not merely about the external gift or opportunity, but about the spiritual readiness to handle what God is entrusting to you. You must approach every potential divine encounter with reverence and discernment, asking God to reveal the true nature of the moment and the heart of the person who appears before you. Timing is one of the most critical aspects of divine appointments. God's timing is always perfect, and it often defies human logic. You may be praying for a breakthrough for years, wondering why it hasn't arrived, and then suddenly, in a moment, everything aligns. The wealthy person appears, the opportunity is revealed, and the path that seemed impossible is suddenly open. But if you are not paying attention, if your eyes are on the wrong things, if your mind is clouded by doubt or fear, you may walk right past the blessing. God's appointments require attentiveness, readiness, and an unwavering expectation that He is faithful to bring His promises to pass. Divine appointments often come through ordinary circumstances, not always through extraordinary events. God may send someone to you in a meeting, at church, in your workplace, or even in a casual social encounter. You may not immediately recognize the significance, but if your spirit is attuned, you will perceive the opportunity. This requires constant vigilance in prayer and life. You must maintain a posture of expectancy, always prepared to receive, always ready to step forward. When God sends someone, He does not announce it with fanfare. He uses ordinary moments to bring about extraordinary results. Your responsibility is to be spiritually awake, alert, and ready to act. Relationships are a key element in divine appointments. The wealthy person who will choose you is often connected to God's plan for your life through shared vision, purpose, or calling. God arranges encounters not just for financial favor, but for strategic partnerships, mentorship, and mutual growth. When you recognize the appointment, you understand that it is not just about what you can gain, but also about the influence you can have, the impact you can make, and the testimony you can build together. God's appointments are always multidimensional. They serve His kingdom purpose as well as your personal blessing. You must approach these relationships with humility, respect, and a willingness to serve as well as receive. Faith plays a vital role in recognizing divine appointments. Sometimes the wealthy person or the opportunity may not appear exactly as you expected. It may come in a different form, through a person you never anticipated, or in a situation that seems unlikely. Faith allows you to step forward even when the situation seems improbable. Faith is the lens through which you see God's hand at work. Without faith, you may hesitate, doubt, or dismiss the encounter, and the blessing may pass by. Recognizing divine appointments requires courage, confidence in God's promises, and a willingness to act even when the circumstances appear uncertain. Preparation is also necessary to recognize divine appointments. Just as God prepares the wealthy person to be a channel of favor, He is simultaneously preparing you to recognize, receive, and steward the blessing. This preparation comes through prayer, character development, spiritual growth, and a mindset attuned to God's purpose. You must cultivate a lifestyle of readiness, ensuring that your heart, mind, and spirit are aligned with God's will. The more prepared you are, the more likely you are to perceive the significance of the encounter when it happens. Divine appointments are rarely accidental. They are the result of intentional alignment with God's timing and purpose. Obedience is the final key to recognizing divine appointments. God often presents opportunities subtly with small nudges, impressions, or doors opening slightly. Your response determines whether the appointment becomes a transformative moment or passes by unnoticed. When God directs you to act, to speak, to reach out, or to step forward, obedience is crucial. Hesitation can cost you the blessing, while prompt action demonstrates readiness, faith, and trust. Divine appointments require you to move when God moves, to speak when He prompts, and to trust when He calls. Even after recognizing the appointment, patience is required. God may bring the wealthy person into your life, but the fullness of the blessing may unfold gradually. The appointment is the starting point, not the conclusion. You must continue in faith, continue in prayer, and remain steadfast in your preparation. Every interaction, every conversation, every decision made during this time is part of God's plan. Recognizing the appointment means understanding that timing, readiness, and trust are as essential as the encounter itself. Divine appointments also often reveal God's wisdom in ways that are beyond human understanding. You may meet someone wealthy who can change your life, yet the circumstances may seem inconvenient, challenging, or even intimidating. God uses these situations to test your readiness, to strengthen your faith, and to teach you the principles of humility, patience, and discernment. Recognizing divine appointments requires spiritual maturity, a deep understanding that God's ways are higher than your ways, and the wisdom to respond in alignment with His will rather than human impulse. The ultimate purpose of recognizing divine appointments is to fulfill God's plan for your life. The wealthy person who chooses you is not merely a source of material provision. They are a part of a divine strategy to elevate your purpose, expand your influence, and multiply the blessings in your life and in the lives of others. When you recognize the appointment, you align yourself with God's purpose. You understand that this encounter is not random, not transactional, and not solely for personal gain. It is part of a greater plan that has been orchestrated by God Himself, and your responsibility is to step forward with faith, humility, and discernment. When God has positioned someone wealthy or influential to choose you, the moment of encounter is only the beginning. The blessing, the favor, the opportunity, it will not manifest fully unless you move in faith and readiness. Too often, people wait for perfection, for clarity, for every circumstance to align before taking action. But beloved, divine appointments require movement. They require boldness. They require a heart that is ready to step forward, trusting that God has already paved the way. Faith without action is like a seed that falls on dry soil. It holds potential, but without movement, without readiness, it cannot grow, it cannot flourish, it cannot fulfill the purpose God intended. Moving in faith requires courage. The wealthy person who is sent to you by God may appear intimidating, distant, or even inaccessible. You may doubt whether you are worthy, whether you are ready, or whether the timing is truly right. But faith does not wait for reassurance. Faith acts on God's promise, on His direction, and on the conviction that what He has prepared will come to pass. Every step you take in obedience to God, every initiative you take to respond to an opportunity is a demonstration of trust. Faith is the bridge between God's promise and the manifestation of that promise. It is the action that activates the blessing, the movement that transforms potential into reality. Readiness is just as essential as faith. To be ready is to prepare yourself spiritually, mentally, and practically for the moment when opportunity appears. Spiritually, readiness means maintaining a heart of purity, integrity, and gratitude. God will not entrust you with favor, resources, or connections if your heart is divided, if you are greedy, or if you are focused solely on self-interest. Mentally, readiness requires clarity of purpose, focus, and discernment. You must know why you are seeking God's blessing, what you intend to do with the opportunity, and how you will honor God through your actions. Practically, readiness involves skill, preparation, and the ability to act quickly when doors open. The wealthy person who chooses you will recognize your readiness because it is evident in your confidence, your competence, and your character. Often, moving in faith requires stepping into the unknown. The appointment God has arranged may involve risk, uncertainty, or challenges that test your courage and determination. But God does not call us to inaction. He calls us to trust Him in the midst of uncertainty. Every step of faith strengthens your spirit, builds resilience, and confirms God's presence in your life. You may not see the entire path, but God sees the end from the beginning. When you step forward in readiness, you align yourself with His timing and open the door for the supernatural to intersect with the natural. Hesitation can cost you the blessing, but movement in faith positions you to receive all that God has ordained. Action in faith is also a demonstration of obedience. God has placed the wealthy person in your path, but He expects you to respond. Sitting back, waiting for a sign, or overanalyzing the situation is not faith. It is fear disguised as caution. Faith requires movement, decisiveness, and trust in God's provision. When God leads you to speak, to reach out, to present your vision, or to accept an opportunity, obedience is the key that unlocks the favor. Your willingness to act promptly communicates to God and to the person He has sent that you are ready, that you are trustworthy, and that you are prepared to steward the resources, influence, and blessings He is releasing. Faith and readiness are also intertwined with humility. The wealthy person God sends is not merely a source of material provision. They are a vessel through which God manifests His favor. Recognizing this requires humility, a willingness to receive without arrogance, to learn without pride, and to honor God and others throughout the process. Humility opens the door for guidance, mentorship, and partnership. It allows the blessing to multiply rather than become a burden. When you move in faith with a humble heart, you demonstrate to God and to those around you that you are prepared to handle the favor with wisdom and grace. Preparation and readiness are cultivated over time. God does not send opportunities to those who are complacent or unprepared. You must develop the habit of continuous growth, spiritually, mentally, and practically, so that when the appointment arrives, you can step forward with confidence. Spiritual growth comes through prayer, meditation on the Word, and alignment with God's will. Mental readiness comes through discipline, focus, and clarity of vision. Practical readiness comes through skill development, experience, and the ability to manage resources effectively. When all these elements are in place, moving in faith becomes natural because your preparation has equipped you to act decisively when God opens the door. Faith also requires patience, even as you move. There is a delicate balance between action and timing. God may send the wealthy person into your life, but the full manifestation of the blessing may take time. Moving in faith does not mean rushing or forcing circumstances. It means stepping forward with confidence while trusting God's timing. Every conversation, every decision, every action you take in this period of readiness is part of God's orchestration. Faith keeps you persistent, moving with purpose, while patience ensures you wait for God's perfect timing. Sometimes moving in faith means saying yes when the situation is uncomfortable, unfamiliar, or challenging. It may require networking, presenting your ideas, or stepping into a position you never imagined. These are moments when your faith is tested and your readiness is demonstrated. The wealthy person God sends will notice your courage, your initiative, and your willingness to act in alignment with His plan. Every act of faith builds momentum, creates opportunities, and positions you to receive the favor that God has prepared. Faith and readiness are also about alignment with God's purpose. The wealthy person or influential figure is not merely a means to material gain. They are part of a divine strategy to fulfill God's plan in your life. When you move in faith, you are moving in harmony with God's design. You are stepping into the path He has prepared, opening the door for His provision, influence, and favor to flow into your life. Readiness ensures that you can manage the responsibility, multiply the blessings, and honor God through every action and decision. Belief in God's provision is crucial to moving in faith. You must trust that God has already prepared the way, that He has already arranged the appointment, and that He is orchestrating every detail for your good. Doubt, fear, or hesitation can paralyze you and prevent the fulfillment of His promise. Faith requires bold action, trusting that God is with you and that His favor is sufficient to overcome every obstacle. Every step you take in faith is a declaration that you trust God's wisdom, timing, and provision completely. Finally, moving in faith and readiness is about stewardship. The blessing God sends through a wealthy person is not for temporary gain. It is for multiplication, influence, and the advancement of His kingdom. Faithful movement ensures that the resources, opportunities, and connections are handled wisely. Readiness ensures that you can respond with integrity, wisdom, and discernment. When you step forward in alignment with God's will, you are prepared to receive, to honor, and to multiply the favor that He has placed in your hands.